So for many of us, we book them maybe as much as a year in advance. And then we spend the rest of the year getting ready for it. Now all of a sudden this summer, we're not sure what's going to happen. What are these? Mission trips. And that's what we're talking about today right here on the Youth Worker Daily. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Youth Worker Daily, where we hope to encourage youth workers just like you with tools, tips, resources, and helps so that you thrive in your ministry. My name is Jay Hyam, and here we are another day, bad lighting, bad sound, but this is what it looks like to do life in a corona world. Well, now we're also talking about what it looks like for us to do ministry in a COVID world. And all week long, we've been talking about different topics of and thoughts and ideas of what it looks like now to do ministry with the coronavirus keeping us indoors and unable to connect and be with our students or our leaders or even with our church families, and how that's impacting what we're doing. Yesterday, we talked about what do we do with our senior class, who is now in the midst of looking at graduation and prom and all of those fun things that this season usually brings for them. And many of them are going to miss out on all of those activities. So go back and watch yesterday's vlog in case you missed it. But today we're talking about something that kind of relates more so for the youth group as a whole, and that is mission trips, or better yet, what are we doing with our mission trips? Because for many of us, we are now in that place of where we are wondering, can we still do it? Or are we seriously considering about pulling the plug? And as I've seen already on social media, it looks like some of us have already canceled our mission trips. So I want to talk about today just some ways that maybe we can be thinking about what that might look like in the way of, do we do a mission trip or do we not do a mission trip? And how we might be able to think around these ideas and how to still make something happen for our students. So, and this is hard because this is generally the season where we are amping up for our mission trips. I mean, usually moving from winter into spring, we're crushing the whole fundraising opportunity. We're getting our kids to be raising money and support, or maybe doing our training times where we're gathering our students together and we're beginning to talk about the trip and prepare for the trip. Now, all of those things are kind of all put on hold, as well as what our summer looks like when it comes to mission trips. And like I said, I've already seen a few youth workers make that big call and have to announce that they're canceling their mission trip for this coming summer. I'm in a situation where we were looking to do mission trips in a different way, and so we had something kind of lined up for our middle school students, going to a local camp who sponsors a week-long mission experience. It's a great introduction to missions for junior high kids. And we were looking to connect and plug in with that and take our students there. For our high schoolers, our church has a connection with a ministry called 8 Days of Hope. I'll put a link for them in the description below. But we've had a long-standing relationship with them and some guys in our church that have been working with them for a number of years. And we were actually looking to participate with them this summer with a small team of our students, combining with a small team of adults to go and do some work with 8 Days of Hope. All of that now is on hold. And so now I'm beginning to think, well, if those things don't happen, what does that summer missions component service opportunity look like for us in our student ministry? And I'm sure you're probably in that same place where you're thinking about those things. So I sat down and I started thinking about, okay, first off, why do we do missions? And how do we do them? Not only just why, but how. And then maybe what are some ideas that we could come up with to actually do missions this summer? While they might look different, we can still get our kids out to a place where they're serving and growing and learning. First off, I think of why. Why do we do mission trips? I've had a real problem over the last couple of years of taking my students on mission trips because, and this might not go over real well, and I apologize if you're on the other side of the fence here, and this is nothing negative against the organizations, but there are a lot of organizations out there that provide mission experiences, and I've worked with some of them that are great. They're great mission experiences, but I often feel like coming home that there's nothing really that my students learn, and sometimes I think that's on me as their leader. But I kind of feel like we go away and we have this glorified week of serving to kind of make us feel like we've at least done something to serve someone else. We've filled our missions box for the summer. And the more I start feeling that, the more I start asking the question of why am I trying to do youth ministry or mission trips? What's the point of doing a youth mission trip? And as I thought about that, I think for me, one of the things I've kind of landed on, and this is talking with pastors and some other folks, what I've kind of landed on is if I take students away for a week of service, I really want to see that be a week of discipleship in their lives, probably number one. I want to see them growing in some way. And number two is I want them to see what it looks like to truly serve someone else, where they're really getting into the nitty gritty of humbling themselves and doing kind of what we see Jesus doing at the Last Supper and washing the feet of disciples. Really a lowly, humble, kind of maybe even disgusting act of service, but yet Jesus does it and he does it with love. And so as I start thinking about those two things, discipleship and service, I mean real serving, and again, not to throw these other groups under the bus saying they're not providing these things. I'm just thinking for me personally, I started thinking about if I wanted to continue doing missions, I want to make sure that my students are getting those things. Like I want my students to grow spiritually, but I also want them to think about what it looks like to actually live out their faith. I want my students to learn to serve, but I want them to know that serving isn't always, setting up tables and chairs or sweeping floors or even building porches. Like there's way deeper than all of that. And then I started thinking about the how. How do we do mission trips? Well, it's super easy to use one of these organizations that are out there. And again, they're great. I've used them, love them. Got friends that work in some of those organizations that I deeply love and respect. But for me, those organizations aren't really kind of working and helping me develop the type of spiritual discipleships that I want to with my students. So I started thinking about what does it look like for us to do missions, and I found myself going to Acts chapter 1 verse 8, where we see Jesus kind of saying these farewell commands to his followers, and he in that verse he talks to his disciples and he says, but you will receive power from when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and this is the part that I zoom in on and focus on, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, in Judea, in Samaria, and into the ends of the earth. And I started thinking about that. If that's what it looks like for us to live obediently, where is my Jerusalem? Where is my Judah? Where is my Samaria? And where is my ends of the earth? And so I started thinking about that. I'm like, well, if we're doing missions, what would it look like for us to do missions that reflect this verse? What if Jerusalem was our local, our backyard missions opportunity? What if Judah was something within the state that we live in? Maybe we're just going across the state and serving somewhere and doing something good. What if Samaria was an out-of-state experience where, kind of we see these as little rings, Jerusalem being a tiny ring, and then Judah being the next ring, and then Samaria being another ring. What does it look like to go out of state to do ministry? And then to the ends of the earth. Well, that's easy. That's the ends of the earth. So that is our out-of-country experience. And so I started thinking about what does ministry look like if we were to do missions like that? Giving students an opportunity for them to see what it looks like to serve in their own backyard, as well as seeing what it looks like to serve around the world. Now, all of that's a topic for another vlog episode here. But with that in mind, I started thinking about what it would look like for us to have missions opportunities for our students that did the two things that I wanted to accomplish: provide good discipleship and provide good opportunities for service. Now, with that being said, what do we do now? What do we do in the circumstances as we now see them with COVID shutting things down, not allowing us to travel very far? How do we do missions in a way that we can still accomplish our goals of discipleship and service? Well, as I said, what would it look like for us to do ministry in our own Jerusalem? And so perhaps this summer is the opportunity for us to think locally or maybe backyard for our own mission projects this year. And so thinking along that way, because this is probably what we're going to end up doing at our church, because I'm not sure anybody's going to want any of our students traveling. I'm not sure that I want my students traveling. And so what does it look like for us to do missions ministry right here in our own backyard? So a couple ideas that I thought might be able to work for us as we think along those things. And of course, this is going to take some work on your end to put all this together. But number one, what it would look like to serve at a local soup kitchen or food pantry. Maybe taking students down there for a day, stocking shelves, serving a meal, cleaning up afterwards, but connect with a local soup kitchen or a food pantry and see how you can serve them this summer. How about volunteering to help with some yard work or maybe a community cleanup day? Something you can do early in the summer, just getting up, raking leaves, picking sticks up, gathering up roadside trash. Maybe it's at a local park or a playground, or maybe you're just going to focus on a community and you're going to go door to door, house to house, and just rally people to come out and help clean up, but bringing your youth group in to serve in a community cleanup. How about finding some projects for senior citizens? I know a lot of the things, one of the big things that these larger mission organizations focus on is providing physical help, improving their living circumstances, whether it's painting, building ramps, fixing stairs, doing porches. In one case, I even saw one missions group, they put on a brand new roof on someone's house. But what would it look like for you to kind of walk through your neighborhood or scroll down through your church membership and find folks that maybe have some needs that they are no longer able to do for themselves, or maybe just financially it's out of reach for them, but they desperately need to have these improvements. Think through that. Find some senior citizens or some folks in your church where you can come alongside, and maybe you have a day where you go in and you paint a house, or you fix a porch, or maybe put a roof on a house. How about getting involved with the leadership or the staffing of your VBS? Some churches have dynamic VBSs. Some youth workers have already bridged that gap of bringing their students in and getting them to serve. Other churches maybe not. I know for me, it's always been one of my goals to have our students participating in the programming of VBS, not just as grunts or as gophers, but to actually give them roles of leadership and participation. And so maybe you have a VBS coming up, your church is going to do one. Connect with the coordinator and find out what or how your students might be able to do, or how they might be able to plug in to come alongside and help that VBS. If you don't have a VBS, maybe this summer you can run a VBS. Maybe you're getting your student leaders together and some other volunteers from the church, and you're creating a VBS program and you're going to run that. That'd be a great way to serve the community and the church and get your students involved in real leadership. How about hosting a week of day camp, or maybe serving with another day camp that's already in the area? Kind of like VBS, but a little bit longer. My wife and I have worked at a local camp running their day camp program for a number of years. It's one of the fun things that we do in the summertime. And we've actually really kind of thought about what would it look like for us to bring some of our student leaders along with us and allow them to be our day camp counselors, because they would get a lot of on-site and hands-on training, and we could really be intentional about the discipleship that takes place in their lives. So either run a week-long day camp, and of course you can use your VBS materials for some of that, or connect with another organization who does run a day camp, maybe an art camp or a dance camp or a sports camp, and get your leaders involved in that. And then lastly, maybe there's some projects or a project around the church that your students can do. I think this is kind of really a good, important one, because sometimes I think we see our church buildings as simply just facilities that we utilize. Students come, they do the youth gatherings, and then they're gone. But the church building itself actually serves as a gathering place for the body of Christ. And sometimes there are things that need to be done. And what a great way for students to kind of see the significance and the importance of having the facility and them completing a project. Of course, you have to work with your leadership on that one, but who knows? Maybe it'd be a great way to bring some community together, even within your students and within the larger body of your church, and really connecting some multi-generational experiences there. Anyhow, consider that. So there you have it. A couple ideas for some things that maybe you could do for your summer missions activities. Love to hear what you are working on or what ideas you might have. Mine's just a small kind of, these are easy, quick things that we can think of, but maybe you've got better ideas or other ideas. I'd love to hear them. I'm sure other youth workers would love to hear them. So go ahead and leave them in the comments below. And then go ahead and join us over on the website later this week as we post some other stuff in reference to this. And of course, we'll connect you with some of those other youth ministry, youth organizations that are doing missions ministry, who might now need extra folks to go on trips because some groups are canceling out. So that's another great place maybe you want to consider jumping on board and being a part of what they're doing. All right, so that's going to do it for us today. As always, make sure you're following us on social media at Youth Worker Daily. That's YTH Worker Daily. As much as we're posting, we're looking for what you're posting, especially in this season of living in a COVID world. What ideas are you having to connect and do youth ministry with your students? We're looking to share some of those ideas with other youth workers. So go ahead and post. And if you want to, leave us in the hashtag portion of your posting, and then we'll jump over and we'll say, you can just leave us that hashtag YTH Worker Daily. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us today. We'll see you right here next time on the Youth Worker Daily.